Zimbabwe's President Robert Mugabe has caused quite a stir among fellow panelists at the World Economic Forum taking place in South Africa when he claimed that his country is the most developed in Africa after the host country. He was on the panel discussion Eye on Fragile States, where he insisted that his country is not a fragile state but one among many with their respective challenges. Also on that panel were the former African Development Bank President Donald Kubereka, Oxfam Director Winnie Byanyima, and Hollywood actor and UNESCO Special Envoy for Peace, Forrest Whitaker.
Zimbabwe's President Robert Mugabe was asked whether African leaders have done enough to prevent the current challenges of conflict, insurgency and famine in some cases in Africa.
Yes and no. The violence are quite varied. In our situations where our economies are still developing and we are not able to grow them at the speed which and absorb the employment of the youths and the population of the youth.
There are issues we have to do with ourselves. So there are issues of fragility from political domain, social domain, environmental domain. Some of them are geopolitical, others are domestic. But I do think that we have to accept responsibility for some of them.
While admitting that the current conflicts arise from clashes of political and religious doctrines in some cases, the Zimbabwean leader insisted his country is neither fragile nor poor.
We have 14 universities. We have our literacy rate is over 90, and it's the highest in Africa. And they don't talk of us as a fragile state from an economic point of view. Yes, we have our problems, but certainly we are achieving our problems. We have resources. Perhaps more resources than the average country in the world.
The look on some of the panelists' faces was quite telling on listening to the head of state in their midst. They proffered their own solutions to the issues they see.
Inclusion, all the diversity of our people, young and old, men and women, ethnicities, and that also means retiring, leaving office, so that others also have a chance to lead. That's important.
First, I think what Victor said is very strong, particularly just for the governments to start with dialogue, to be willing to discuss openly, with inclusion, the issues, to respond directly to the needs of the people.
What leaders should do is to tap into the potential of young people. And I would be brutal to say leaders must reach a point where they resolve their differences and stop problems because people are dying.
I would ask the leaders of these states to reflect on who the future belongs to and educate them, and in the process, educate themselves.
One of the civil society groups attending the conference is the One campaign, which is here advocating that African leaders must harness the continent's youth advantage.
The president of Zimbabwe can say they have enough educational institutions, but we also have a critical mass of Zimbabweans that cannot get jobs within the country. So he still has homework to do in terms of creating an enabling environment to make sure that these people who are educated can actually, start businesses or, get jobs within the existing industries.
The forum ends this Friday, and hopefully African leaders are listening and will walk the talk. From the Albert Lutuli International Convention Center, Durban, Betty Dibia, Channels Television News.
And in North Africa, Algeria's governing coalition has retained its majority in parliamentary elections. Official results show that the National Liberation Front won 164 seats in the 462-seat lower house, with its ally, the National Democratic Rally, with 97. The Interior Ministry says turnout was just over 38%, reflecting widespread disinterest among voters. The poll took place amid deep economic gloom and uncertainty over the health of President Abdelaziz Bouteflika. Mr. Bouteflika's FNL party has dominated the country's politics since independence in 1962. And the United Nations Human Rights Chief Zeid Raad alHussein has announced that he'll push the Ethiopian government to allow his agency to investigate rights abuses during months of unrest in 2015 and 2016 in which hundreds of people were killed. The Horn of Africa country declared 6 months of emergency rule in October after more than a year of violent protests in its Oromia and Amhara regions. Demonstrators in the areas say the government has trampled on their political rights. The state of emergency has since been extended by 4 months. Last month, the government-sanctioned investigation said 669 people have been killed in the violence.
The Ethiopian Human Rights Commission reported at least 669 people were killed from August 2016 to March 2017. The Commission, among other points, courageously recommended that security personnel thought to have used force excessively should be brought to justice. Although I benefited greatly from the briefings provided to me by the Attorney General's office, the extremely large number of arrests, over 26,000, suggests it is unlikely rule of law guarantees have been observed in every case. I believe my staff ought to be given access to the affected areas, and I renew my request so we can assess the situation and ascertain what further support can be given to the authorities, including justice officials.